Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're diving deep into a legal bombshell that just exploded. And trust me, this one has huge implications for small businesses like yours.
Definitely huge.
So we're talking about the Corporate Transparency Act, the CTA. A federal court just slammed the brakes on it hard. And this isn't some dry legal case in a dusty law book.
Absolutely not.
This thing was all set to force companies to reveal who their real owners are to a federal database, all in the name of stopping financial crime.
Sounds pretty intense, right?
It was, and it sparked a massive debate, How do we fight crime while also protecting everybody's rights? It's a tricky balance.
Super tricky, and that's exactly what we're going to untangle today. We'll break it all down plain and simple so you know what happened, why it matters to you, and what it could mean for the future of, well, your business.
So should we start with what the CTA actually said?
Yeah, let's get into the nitty-gritty. What was this thing really all about? Okay, so the CTA, it wasn't just laser-focused on giant corporations. It cast a wide net. LLCs, partnerships, any company that kind of fit the bill structure-wise had to report who was really in charge.
Oh, so this wasn't just about catching the big fish.
Nope, not at all.
Wow, it sounds like a ton of smaller businesses could have been swept up in this.
Yeah.
What was the ownership threshold you mentioned?
Right, so the CTA said anyone who owned at least 25% of a company had to be named.
25%, that's a pretty big chunk.
Yeah, it is. And that meant this law, it could have hit a lot of people.
So then, this is where that Texas case enters the picture, right? A bunch of businesses, they teamed up and sued over the CTA.
Yeah, exactly.
Led by a company, Texas Top Cop Shop. Right?
Yep, Texas Top Cop Shop, they took it to court. The case landed in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Texas. You can look it up. It's Texas Top Cop Shop v. Garland et al. Case number 4.24CV0000478.
Okay, got it. Texas Top Cop Shop v. Garland et al.
Yeah.
Case number 4.24CV0000478.
Right. And then Judge Amos Mazant, he issued a nationwide injunction. Basically, hit the pause button on the CTA.
Whoa. Nationwide. So it stopped the whole thing dead in its tracks.
Pretty much, yeah.
Big deal. What were the judge's main points against the CTA?
One of the biggest things was this idea of federal overreach. Like the federal government was trying to muscle in on territory that belongs to the states.
Gotcha.
You see, the Constitution, it gives states a lot of power to regulate businesses inside their borders, and Judge Mazant, he seemed to think the CTA kind of messed with that balance.
I see. So it's a power struggle. Who gets to make the rules? That makes sense. I also heard a lot about the potential cost of following the CTA, like it was going to be a nightmare.
Oh yeah, that was a major concern. Some estimates said the cost of complying with the CTA just in the first year nationwide could have been a whopping $22 billion.
$22 billion? You're kidding.
I'm not. $22 billion. And for a small business, especially with everything going on in the economy right now, even a tiny sliver of that cost could have been backbreaking. It wasn't just about filling out forms. You might have to hire lawyers, change your whole ownership structure, figure out the logistics of disclosing everything.
A complete logistical nightmare.
Totally.
Okay, that makes sense. But let's switch gears a bit and talk about privacy, because forcing companies to just hand over personal info about their owners, that's got to raise some red flags, right? Is that even legal?
That was a huge point of contention. The Fourth Amendment, it protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures. And people against the CTA said, hey, this could violate that right.
So there was this worry that all this info could end up in the wrong hands.
Exactly. And people are worried that the database, it might not be secure enough. What if hackers get in? Or someone misuses the data?
Right. Once that information's out there, who knows where it could end up?
Exactly. And it wasn't just the Fourth Amendment either. This whole thing about being forced to give up info, that raised some First Amendment issues too.
The First Amendment? How so?
Well, the First Amendment protects free speech, right? And some legal experts, they said forcing companies to reveal things they might not want to, what they call compelled speech, could go against that. It's like being told you have to put up a billboard you totally disagree with.
I get it now. So it's not just about saying what you think, but also about who you choose to be with.
Yeah.
To associate with.
Exactly. If people can't start or invest in businesses without worrying about their personal info being splashed everywhere, that could stop them from teaming up freely. That's a problem.
Freedom of association, right. So for now, this injunction, it's given small businesses a break from worrying about the CTA.
True, but remember, this is just a pause. The government, they're probably going to fight this ruling.
Oh, for sure.
This thing could go all the way to the Supreme Court.
Wow. So what's the big takeaway here? This seems way bigger than just this one law, the CTA.
It is bigger. This ruling, it makes us ask some really fundamental questions. How much power should the government have over businesses? Where do we draw the line between fighting crime and protecting our freedom and privacy? These are questions we all need to think about, especially as the story keeps unfolding.
That brings us to you, our listeners. What do you think about all of this? How much power should the government have when it comes to regulating businesses? Where do we draw the line between fighting crime and protecting our fundamental freedoms? This ruling has opened up some really big questions that we all need to consider because this story is far from over.